You cannot afford to miss a single moment of the next hour. Get ready to have your ideas about sexuality, love, and relationships blown wide open. It's time to get educated, entertained, and enlightened, as well as sexually empowered. You have now tuned into the Tantra Love, Sex, and Intimacy Show. Now, here's your host, Tanya Diamond.
Okay, everybody. So we're live, right? Yeah, okay. All right, everybody. Hi.
Are we in the holidays yet? Yes, it is the holiday.
Oh, yeah. In fact, it's Christmas Eve.
Ooh. Christmas Eve. Are you listening?
What are we doing here on Christmas Eve? That's
on Christmas Eve, we are devoted to our listening audience. This is what I call loyalty, when you come through the snow and the rain like the postal office to bring Tantra.
I know. It's true. But I have to tell you, because we are authentic in Tantra.
We do our best.
Yeah, we're faking you out. We're not really here Christmas Eve. Yeah, sorry. We're actually pre-recording this show.
And it sounded so real. I couldn't tell the difference.
I know. Isn't that weird?
It's so similar to what... no, never mind. I can't think of it at the moment.
Okay, look. I had a couples workship just recently.
I heard it rocked, by the way.
It rocked. It was on Orcas Island, which is awesome. It's in Washington State. It rocked. But you know what really always astounds me?
Yes.
Are when couples, whether they've been together a short time or a long time, have these huge aha moments when they come to these classes.
Awesome.
You know, I think what I do is teach simplicity. And,
right.
And it is certainly what I do. And in that teaching of simplicity, to watch people's faces when they just go, wow, I didn't understand that. And then watching, I'll say something about women, like, for instance, excuse me, I still have a cold. Not that. I didn't say that. But for instance, when I say that...
so simple.
I know, it's so simple. Look, I have a cold. It's all okay. When I say something like, the part of intercourse that women really want to last a long time is that inevitable moment right before the man is over. I mean, that's the part they want to last.
Right.
Not all the rest of the stuff.
Right.
And I said something like, otherwise it's just like sawing logs. And all the women are just like, yeah, I can show you that expression, except on the radio. It's kind of like that mouth agape kind of moment. And all the men are like, huh? What?
Really?
Yeah, what? And,
what?
And the women, I say, turn and look at your woman. And all the women, their heads are nodding affirmative, like, yes, that's the part, not all the rest of that part. And the fact that a woman can tell the moment you check out, the moment you start contemplating something else,
to distract the inevitable.
Right. Then they know that.
Oh.
And so then they're not having a really great time either.
I got to go back and rethink a few things.
Yeah. Yep. So it was a real stunning, shocking thing for women and men to hear. I'm really surprised at how many things a woman won't actually say about sex.
That's been one of my biggest fascinations and amazements lately, talking, and I don't know if I could say counseling some friends lately, but I'm amazed at what people aren't willing to just say to the person that they quote unquote trust the most. Right.
Well, it's because we don't actually, we might trust them, but we probably don't trust what will happen.
Don't feel safe.
Okay, yeah.
Don't feel safe. So as a relationship concept in general, the most intimate experiences that we can possibly have, and
we're not safe.
We're not safe. We're not taught what languages to use.
Well, because we're still believing that all of it's Hollywood fairy tale romance.
Oh.
See, now remember, the whole premise is you fall in love.
Yeah.
And you live happily ever after.
Happily ever after.
And everything just
works. But in those Disney films, they never talked about sex or doing dishes.
Right. No. They just rode off into the sunset.
Right.
Or sailed off into the sunset.
I mean, if I had a great castle, you think I just figured everything out, right?
Right. If you had the steed and the castle.
The steed and the castle, the gold. I could hire somebody to teach me Tantra.
Here was another fascinating thing.
Okay.
I said that it isn't, so women learn about sex generally through the men they first have sex with. So,
really?
Yeah, so in other words, we might have a theoretical, we have a theoretical, but until we're being touched by a man.
Right.
Okay, and so you can imagine, as a woman, the first time a man is touching your breast, okay, let's say he's just, doing his thing. And, his thing, he may be fumbling because it may be his first time.
Right.
Or he's been with a few women and he thinks that women like that tweaking, kind of tweaky nipple thing, which just is really annoying. But...
No, I got a comment for that, but I'll wait. Go ahead.
And so what women learn to do is find pleasure with what's happening, not what they really want.
Not actually say what they actually want.
Right. So they learn to accommodate what they're getting and figure out how to have an orgasm if they're going to from that.
Right.
Which isn't really the same as being touched the way you really want to be touched.
Right.
Wow.
And then they don't even know how they really want to be touched.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. So a lot of women have learned to accommodate being touched a lot harder than they want to be touched.
Well,
and in a way that doesn't work for them, but they've managed to do that, that tension release orgasm.
Right,
right. Where they hold their breath and just like,
struggling to get to that place of feeling good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Just get that tension
because they might miss it. It may not happen.
Right. Mm-hmm. And nobody wants to take the time because women assume that, men want them to hurry up. And sometimes men do want them to hurry up. We actually had one of the guys was like, when I said it takes the average woman about 45 minutes because most women are starting at a minus 20 to get there. And he was like, rolled his eyes like, oh, God. And I almost smacked him in the head.
Right. Now, just to differentiate here in the radio show, when Tanya said some guys just don't like to take the time, I kind of looked off into the distance in a dreamy way. And it wasn't because of that. I was just having a moment, but staying in momentum.
Yeah, you were wanting to wise somebody. Somebody
needs help.
Right. Yes. Because remember, Josh is practicing celibacy.
Yeah, and I wasn't going into a needing moment. I was just in a place of appreciating.
They can't actually see you, right, Joshua?
I know. That's why I explained that I looked up in a dreamy way.
They don't know that you did that. Though.
But in case any moment I know you might say, Josh, what's that look on your face? Are you going to cry?
So the issue here is there's a lot that is not being talked about. And in fact, most things around sexuality and relationship is not being talked about.
Put some music on and start doing it and don't talk.
Right. Well, don't talk. Turn the lights down, off. Of course, all the men did agree that they want the lights on because they want to actually see what's going on.
Yeah.
And all the women agreed that mostly that was uncomfortable.
Right.
Because women are so caught up in what's not right about themselves.
Right.
That they not very much enjoying what's going on anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've yelled at a few women about that. I'll be straight up about it. I'm like, don't you deny me the opportunity to appreciate what you've brought into this room. That's who I'm here to be with.
That's right. There, see?
Let me have it.
And men actually need to be saying that because just saying, baby, you're beautiful.
No, you have to say,
isn't really doing it.
I am here for this experience because I want you.
There you go. Okay, so flaws and all.
Oh.
So here's the deal. It's like, it's not really that the men aren't seeing. I mean, even with all our little dancing around and trying to, hide our butt or hide this or hide that.
Please don't dance around. Oh, gosh.
Yes,
dance around.
Yeah, but dance around. Woohoo!
But don't dance around to try to hide something because, I want to feel, I want to touch, I want to be able to experience, I want to be able to look at, I want to be able to see your expressions. It's your body that I'm with. Yeah.
And so, and men have already scoped it out, ladies, especially if it's not 2 a.m. and he's drunk. Mm-hmm. If he's 2 a.m. and he's drunk and he wakes up the next morning, who knows? He might be scared. It's true, he might be scared because who knows what you look like.
It depends on if you've ever been together before.
Yeah, exactly. But, generally if a man has met you or picked you up or any of these type of things, you've been dating, he pretty well knows what he's in for. Yes, okay, when you take your clothes off, things can change a little bit, but, he's just happy you're naked most of the time. Yay, naked woman. Woohoo! So stop being
know what we're gonna do. Know what we're gonna do.
Now, you cannot assume that just because women are naked, you're going to do anything.
Well, I'm not making a presumption.
Okay.
It's just I'm in the sandbox. There's sand. Let's play.
Right, exactly.
Not literally.
Right.
But, that I know we're going to touch. I know we're going to kiss. I know we're going to
she's just going to stand there and
just going to stand there and dance, and I'm going to go, I know what we're... And she's going to go, yeah, you keep singing that, buddy. Eventually one of us will fall asleep.
So it is true that there are so many miscommunications and people not speaking. And then what happens when you're one of a couple and you're into all this stuff and your partner's not? So let's say you've had a revelation. You've heard this radio show and you thought, wow, you know what? Yeah, these people are right on, and there's more to it than
they're
what's
so talking about me.
Right. And it's like, wow, okay, I want to change. And then, you might bring something up to your partner. Like you might say, oh, so I was listening to this show on Tantra, and they're like, don't do that woo-woo crap, blah,
I'm not
blah,
into
blah.
that new age.
Right. Blah, blah, blah stuff. Right. And then all of a sudden you're thinking, oh, what do you do now? Well, here's the deal. If you're a woman, the way to have a man generally, now this is general, okay? The way to pique a man's interest is to tell the man that you have been learning more about sex.
Ooh, that's a
pleasure,
great way to
right?
start.
It's like,
sex
you talk about
pleasure.
sex. So it's like, wow, honey, I've been listening to this great radio show about sex. And he's like, really? Okay, you don't need
now
to.
Now the clock is ticking. He's
Right.
thinking, how often can I get more of that?
Right, exactly. And then you say, I've just realized that there's just a lot more to all of this than what I thought. And I've been listening to ways that I can increase my pleasure and desire. Okay, he's all over listening to
And
this.
I've been hearing about this orgasm that they say is most women aren't really having.
Right. Yeah, and
I'm just
right. And wow, so he's definitely more interested in that. Now, so there are men, and increasing numbers of men, that are the ones that are not interested in sex.
Oh, really?
Yes. And there's a reason why for that, too. Now,
Okay.
So if you're a woman who's out there saying, yeah, great, Tanya, no, you don't understand. My man is not interested in sex.
And she's the one that's doing the chasing and the...
Right. First of all, if you're chasing, you need to stop. If a man is not interested in sex, one of the worst things you can do is hound him.
Well, it goes, it's the same principle. That
right,
if a man
but
is hounding a woman...
Even worse for men.
Right, because their ego and everything is...
Women want to be
wrapped up in it.
pursued.
Right.
And when you pursue a man sexually that isn't interested in sex, he feels worthless and guilty and shamed and a lot of other things because society tells him he's always supposed to want sex.
Right, and
so
whatever
he
the
feels
reason is.
broken.
Yeah.
So please, ladies, if you're in a situation where your man, your partner does not want sex or seems to, you make advances and he doesn't seem interested, and the worst thing is nagging him. Even worse than that is calling him out, like, what's wrong with you?
Oh.
Aren't you a man? I know a story. My ex told me that he wasn't interested in having sex with his partner. And she's actually like, what's wrong with you? You can't get that up anymore? And I mean, this is like, I'm sorry, people. I mean,
back the F up.
This is like not going to work at all.
This is not going to make things, it's not going to, it's not going to make it work now.
No.
It's not going to make it work long term.
Later. Right. Now, in the incident with him, he wasn't interested in his relationship anymore. So now, that is not saying that that's what's happening in yours, if this is the case going on. So here are the reasons that men may not be interested in sex. First of all, if a man is not living his passion, if he doesn't have a mission and he doesn't have a passion, so in other words, he seems depressed, chances are sex is not going to be high on his list because men are in way more arousal of life when their passion and their mission is going on. Now, would you agree with that, Josh?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And even if there's an interest in sex, it's sex for the sake of tension and distraction from my own dissatisfaction.
Right.
And so it's that seeking a release of tension. And actually, once I get into the intimacy, I can find it easier to lose arousal, lose erection, or climax too quickly. Because it's tension driven rather than, wow, I feel incredible.
Right.
On all kinds of subconscious levels, being proud of myself for what I'm engaged in.
Yeah. So there can be one thing. So especially with what people are looking at as an economic decline or an economic situation, we may see more men right now not as interested in sex or hyper interested using ejaculation for medication.
Right, using it to distract the mind and the ill feelings.
Right. Or no sex with their partner and lots of porn happening.
Right.
Which is typically what happens. A disconnect from the intimacy and the love and the masturbation around porn to get the medication and the release.
To get the intense experience.
And then there's shame on both ends. There's guilt
Right.
and shame, and the whole thing perpetuates a nasty cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So please, whatever you do, don't, as women, don't be giving your man a hard time about that. The thing to find out is what's really going on. And you can look and see. I mean, look at if he's not engaged in any of his other regular passions, and he seems mopey, and he's lost his job, or any, like, all of a sudden he's not working and he used to support the family and now you're having to go out and work, he may not be that interested.
Yeah.
So the other reason is that society tells men that after they're 35 they're just not that interested in sex as much. I mean, society actually tells men that they're going to have sexual vitality decline.
Really?
Yeah, that as you get older, right? You read of Viagra commercials. These commercials are subconscious ways of telling men.
I've actually been looking forward to that moment in life.
There you go.
Can I focus on some other things?
Can let men know that supposedly they're going to have a decline.
Mm-hmm.
And so, okay.
Now they're worrying, they're competing against themselves. Right.
So then they take that worry on, and then the first time they have, the dreaded ED, erectile dysfunction, something doesn't quite function the way it's supposed to.
You mean the moment it doesn't work once, I've got it?
That's it forever.
Oh, no.
Right. And see, that's what happens. And then that becomes anxiety driven. That happened once. It might happen again, especially if your partner freaks out.
Right.
And it becomes another psychological issue. So
that happened to me once.
Did it?
Not the psychological issue, though.
The other thing? Yeah. I like it. That happened to me once.
Right.
I like it. My favorite part is when I'm with a new partner and they tell me, oh, no, that's never happened to me. And then it does happen.
Great. Yeah, let's line that one
I know.
up.
I love that. That's never happened to me. And then it does happen with me. And I'm thinking, oh, wow, was it me?
That really makes me feel good. Don't say things like that, guys.
Yeah, don't say things like that.
Don't set yourself up.
Right. Yeah. Don't set the woman up either.
Yeah, don't set her up. Yeah.
Just don't.
Don't.
And then there's medical reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So if with society being quite overweight, or more people being overweight today, that puts a lot of pressure literally on the blood vessels and everything else.
Right.
Yeah, if you have clogged arteries, guess what? Blood flow to the penis is what causes erection.
Mm-hmm.
If the arteries and things are starting to get blocked, you're not getting enough blood flow. There's a problem. And just your testosterone levels are tanking if you're not engaged in some kind of physical, and you're not in physical shape and
if you're
feeling
not,
good.
if you're not physically exercising, then testosterone's affected.
Right.
Yeah.
And guess what? Drinking Coke, the phosphoric acid in those type of drinks causes loss of testosterone.
So drinking soda.
Phosphoric acid and soda.
Phosphoric acid. And I've also... the soy industry is going to hate me for this.
Oh, no, it's true.
There's a lot of literature around...
that the monks use soy to stay celibate.
Is that what they're doing?
Yeah.
I do protest.
Yep. So soy will tank your sex drive.
Now, what I'm responding to is I thought the monks were actually mastering their energetic flow.
Yeah, well, a lot of them are, but I mean, yeah.
But they're actually using soy.
Some are using soy.
So that they can, A, be vegetarian, and B, diminish their testosterone. Oh, I just can't support that.
Yeah. Yeah, because we want to be vigorous. You want to be a vigorous man.
Yeah.
And be in control of your sexual energy.
Yeah.
Instead of just tanking it.
Yeah.
So there's some things to contemplate here. So there's medical reasons. What I'm saying is there's psychological reasons for men not wanting sex, and then there's medical reasons. Now, generally, if it's a medical reason, he probably still wants sex. It's just he's too afraid to go for it because it's not working. But if you actually don't want sex,
right, and
then there's then there's a couple of things that are hard to talk about, which is the woman has gained a lot of weight.
Okay,
right, or lost a lot of weight, because let's give it in for the guys who like women with flesh.
Okay,
I have one of those.
Okay,
so there's the woman has changed.
So the woman loses weight, and all of a sudden she doesn't fit what he
loved so much about her. Okay, so either way,
right,
all right. So some physical change happened, and she's quite drastically changed the way she looks.
Right.
He may not be interested. And you know what? How does a man say that? We've had this talk before. That talk, the you've changed talk.
Right.
And this time I'm adding a you've gotten too skinny talk into it. So what does a man say to a woman who's gotten too thin? And he's not interested anymore.
Here's a burger and a slice of pizza.
Right, exactly. That's a little bit easier, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, Max was telling me, wow, if you get too thin, he said the only fun part about that is that I get to feed you a lot.
I'm going to talk to him because I need him to work on that.
Need to feed you a lot then to get you back where I want you.
Right.
But either way, a drastic change can really affect
Yeah.
how attractive the man is finding you, and that's a really, really difficult. Or let's say the woman becomes depressed.
Uh-huh.
So when women are depressed and they don't have a spark or anything else, maybe they've lost their passion, and
Right.
he's having a hard time being attracted to her as he was because she doesn't carry that spark she used to.
Right. And if she's not, taking on her own arousal
Right.
and inspiration, turn him down once or twice, she's depressed, he doesn't want to approach it anymore.
Right. So, but this is mainly what I was talking about was men who actually don't want sex. Because
Right.
we need to give men a fair shake. There are men out there that feel that way and they're feeling bad enough. A fair shake. I know.
Yeah, sorry.
That's funny.
I do my best not to say certain things, but
Right.
my eyes tell me.
Right. And so what I'd like men to consider, I'd like women to, like we talked about, please don't really get uptight with your man and give him a really hard time if that occurs. There's always ways to talk about these things. So what, men not interested, women not interested, what do you do? One of the questions that always amazes me that people don't ask each other, and that is, how often, ideally, do you want to have sex?
Oh.
So let's say you
back
meet.
to one of my favorite questions.
Right. You've met, and you maybe in the beginning you've asked this question, and each of you said, "Oh yeah, I want to do it every day."
Right.
And so, this is 4 years later now, and of course, you didn't really do it every day, but
No.
it's 4 years later, and things may have changed.
And with things changing, actually, we're recording. We can pause anytime we want.
No, we're not pausing. We're forging on.
We're forging on. Well, I'm actually bringing up some really wonderful information about something we love so much.
Oh, what's that?
AdamandEve.com.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, good. I'm glad you're going to bring that up because we're going to talk about that, AdamandEve.com in just a little bit. But what I want to know then is, so do people after 4 years ask that question again?
I don't think they asked that question in the beginning. I think, in the courtship, or, what I like to call courtship BS, where we're all sugary and everything's serenity and everything's love and the electricity, the warmth, the magical feelings are real, though, because often people don't get to the real talk of how to line up that relationship, then when, that diminishes over time and then they don't know who each other is. I don't think people ever talk about how often do you want to have sex? How, in a relationship, what's your impression, assumption, desire?
Right. And what happens when it used to be one thing and now it's something else? Mm-hmm. And nobody's talking about it. So, because it can change over time, right?
Yeah.
So you might say, when you're younger or whatever, I want to have sex every day. Mm-hmm. And then later on, you might decide that 3 times a week is okay, but everybody's laboring under the first assumption. So why don't people talk about these type of things?
Again, how? It's one of those, the simplest, and it's the most difficult place to really approach. I think just starting certain conversations.
It's funny. We're actually, you're right, this stilted conversation here because we're being silly and we're writing notes back and forth to each other about what time we started instead of just saying that, which would have been a lot quicker.
Right. So I believe we started around 12:37.
So what because we know we're pre-recording this, so now we're being spastic for you, so you can at least laugh about that. There's some authenticity. Maybe you know what time we started. Anyway, it is some of the simplest things are the hardest things to talk about. Telling somebody that your desire frequency has changed is pretty important, only because we are all laboring under assumptions. Most of us are laboring under the assumption that men want to have sex all the time and women don't. And
right.
I have frequently found that, quite frankly, I am way more interested in sex most often than my partner. Now, I have fairly high sex drive men that I date, but
but they also, especially if not before, after they've met you, they're focusing their passion into their work to be able to bring their mission. And so, if you're cruising by and distracting them from that, they're going to be, thank you, my love. I'll be back later.
Well, and the reality is that men always believe they want sex every day or twice a day until they're in that position where they are having it or doing it every day.
Which position exactly would that be?
Exactly. Whatever position that is.
Right.
And so once they're in that space, all of a sudden things are a little different.
Major pressure, and guys don't anticipate the burden that's going to create when they finally get that. There's a short-term memory issue here. When we're not getting it all the time, then we want it all the time, so we assume we want it all the time. It's like going to the grocery store hungry or the buffet hungry. You load everything into the shopping cart. You load everything into your plate at the buffet. You get to your table, you munch down, and then you're like, I don't know if I enjoyed that.
Right.
Whereas if you're at the grocery store, you get to the checkout, and you're like, how in the world did I end up spending that much money and I still haven't eaten? And so it's that buyer's remorse or something. So a guy, once we have that frequency in front of us, it's like, oh my God, I'm running a marathon. How am I going to survive this? I lied to her. And then they go into not communicating because they're going online saying, how can I have more longevity? How can I produce more sperm?
Right.
What to figure out. And the reality is, just by having intimacy that frequently, we're draining our body of such life force if we're doing typical sex.
If you're doing typical ejaculation
sex, where every time we have sex, we A, want to last forever, but B, we're going to have as many orgasms as we're having sex. Otherwise, ejaculation. Thank you for, and it becomes a vicious cycle because I know I crash, and if it's on a continuum of a certain level, I really crash unless I'm doing something to continue driving that process up. And just from an aspect of nature, I watched all my Good Nature Channel stuff growing up, and they showed when animals are in the rut, elk or things like that, in particular, they talked about how as much as the alpha elk that wins over all other elk, once they have their harem or their herd, they're actually the least healthy of all of the competing males in the area because they're ejaculating so often that they're losing calcium and they weaken themselves, and eventually they're guaranteed to be pushed out of the lead. So as men, in our vitality, if we're hoping to survive that frequency, it diminishes our health, it diminishes our intensity, our fervor, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if we adopt tantric concepts, we have a much broader definition on what intimacy is.
So you could have sex every day if you weren't having regular American sex.
If we weren't having, if I wasn't
sex.
having regular American
world
or regular
sex, really.
Traditional, got to get it in, got to climax, got to ejaculate, got to get her off, all these different pressures. Yeah, the definitions change, and I could probably have sex several times a day.
Right. And so that's inevitably when women are worried about him wanting a lot of sex is because of the way sex is.
Yeah.
And not necessarily the way sex could be. And of course, that's what Tantra is all about, is teaching you all of those things. I am going to do our little spiel about our sponsor.
No, to take a break, we need to wait 10 seconds, I'm told.
But we're not taking a break. We're talking about our sponsor right now.
Oh, we're just talking about the sponsor. Okay.
Right, because we have a sponsor.
Yes.
Isn't that cool?
I love having a sponsor.
Isn't that awesome?
AdamandEve.com. You rock.
AdamandEve.com thinks that we're awesome, and we think that they're awesome, and so we want to tell you about a super duper special that they have. And they're thinking that you guys should be wanting to spice things up in the bedroom, maybe.
I'm always looking to spice things up in the bedroom. It's just something I think about.
So if that's the case, and you've been fantasizing about surprising your lover with an adventurous new toy, or maybe a movie, here's an offer.
Or a toy replacement.
Or a toy replacement.
If you have an adventurous toy that you just say, I wish I could find, check out AdamandEve.com.
That's right, because maybe she has a toy, but she's already had that toy. She needs a new toy. Really, you can't have too many toys.
Mm-hmm.
So what you need to do is you've got a great offer at adamandeve.com because you can go there and for a limited time, you'll get 50% off just about any item that they have. But that's not all.
But wait.
Yeah, there's more. Because when you select one of those items at 50% off, you'll also receive 3 free adult DVDs.
I like that. Now, every time you say one of these things, I start looking off into space and just wondering.
Plus, a free gift so sensual, they're not letting me mention it on the radio.
And they certainly aren't going to let me mention it on the
and
radio.
so what could that be off? So, I mean, and free shipping on their order.
Free shipping.
So, adamandeve.com, 50% just about off anything that you can get there.
Yeah.
They'll throw in 3 free adult DVDs and a special sensuous gift, so sensuous I can't even talk about it on the radio, and free shipping.
I love it.
So it's adamandeve.com, but if to get the special offer, you've got to grab a pen right now or use your memory, right?
Now, before we go there, free shipping in the United States.
I would imagine so. They just say we'll throw in free shipping.
Free
so that's
shipping.
In the United States.
I want to bracket that with in the United States.
Okay.
And if you're one of our international listeners, inquire. We'll find out. I'll get clarification on that.
That's good because we do have, and maybe they are talking about everybody. We'll find out.
Yeah.
We'll check
I'll
that
find
out.
out.
All right. But to get this special offer, you can't just go to adamandeve.com and just throw it in there. What you need to go is go there and type in my name. And see, that's the quiz.
Tanja.
Tanja. Let's say that again. Tanja. So when you do, you're going to get the 3 free DVDs, extra free gift, and free shipping. Just use the offer code TANJA at adamandeve.com. Your friendly adult toy store, a great place, lots of products online.
Now, of course, I've been doing research for our listening audience.
Oh, yes?
Of course. And I love browsing and perusing and being able to feel so professional. I feel like I'm on a mission when I go to these websites and say, oh, that's an interesting picture. Oh, I like that product. I've got to tell Tanja about that one. We need to tell our listeners about this one. So I'm accumulating some research. I'm not going to reveal right now, but perhaps after the holidays.
There we go.
I'm going to give you my personal review, tour, if you will.
There we go.
Of adamandeve.com.
There we have it. So, adamandeve.com, 50% off, 3 DVDs, free gift, and free shipping, definitely to the States, and we'll find out if it's all over. Offer code TANJA, and we are going to take a short break, and we will be right back with you in just a few moments.
Is your sex life non-existent? Do sexual dysfunctions leave you soft? Is internet porn getting more than you are? Or are you paying more attention to porn than your partner? Have you tried talk therapy and it got you nowhere? You are not alone. You can be freed from sexual shame, guilt, and dissatisfaction. A visit to the Tantra teacher is in order. Call now and mention you heard the Tantra teacher on the radio and get a very special offer. Stop waiting for a miracle and call right now, 206-276-2735. Phone consultations or in person will get you the information you need to be successful in your love life. But you have to call now, 206-276-2735. Stop making excuses. Call the Tantra teacher, 206-276-2735.
Are you one of the 40 million sexless couples in the U.S.? Are you wondering why having sex leaves you feeling lonely? Are you suffering from the myths of sexual dysfunction? Do you know in your heart that there has to be more than what you're currently getting out of making love? To rid yourself of sexual ignorance, get more out of your lovemaking, and find out more about spiritual sexual connection, then you need to check out www.thetantrateacher.com to receive your free copy of the ebook called Secrets of the Tantra Teacher. Don't suffer another minute without the sexual loving and ecstatic bliss you were born to receive. Get to www.thetantrateacher.com right now. That's www.thetantrateacher.com.
Hello, and we are back. How's it going?
Doing great.
So that's really funny because, when you're doing a pre-record, you sit here and stare at each other in silence for 10 seconds.
I mentally turned around twice, kind of like a dog sitting down.
Did you? Nice, very nice. Okay. Yeah. We are back and, back for more. And what we were talking about are the hard things and the miscommunications that people have in sexuality. How to entice your partner to learn more. Because quite frankly, the people that come to take my classes and contact me are single men and married women. Mm-hmm. Single men, because single men, of course, are driven to find out what they can do to have more sex.
Right.
Married women to find out what they can do to have different sex than they're having. Mm-hmm.
And even when you think you have a venue for communication, I ran into an interesting experience where was able to get into a very open conversation with a woman, and talking about what she did and didn't love about her husband's lovemaking styles. Mm-hmm. And I said, great, I know he's going to be into this. Give him the website, check this out, and next time I see him, I'll see if I can find a segue. You mention it to him about Tantra, that I mentioned this website, and check it out, look at it with him, and then he'll be primed for the conversation you and I are going to have. She's like, oh, great, you're brilliant, Josh, go for it. And when he came in, we got to talking about it, and what was interesting was he thought he was doing the things that we were talking about. He thought he was being more sensitive and less of, less sawing logs,
Well, and that is an absolutely great, what's the word? That's a great word. No. That's a great point that you're making.
Yeah.
Because like me telling one of my partners, I want you to touch me longer.
Right.
And then he was touching me for 3 minutes instead of 2.
Right. That's nice of him.
Well, it is longer. There wasn't very specific. The thing is, if you don't have anything to compare it to, how do you know what's sensitive? What does I want you to be more sensitive mean?
Oh, forget it. It's a complete misunderstanding of
I want lovemaking to last longer. Men translate that into
rocking for a long time, rocking away.
The intercourse part.
Yeah, the intercourse, and the reality is, it's a totally different thing. I got thrown for such a loop once on that. I still don't understand it today. I mean, I have a better understanding today, but I had a girlfriend I hadn't seen for years. We had an opportunity to see each other, and when we were younger, I used to go into just worshiping her body, and in so many different ways, and there was a progression of building up. And when we got together, later on as adults, she looked at me and said, I don't want you to just F me. I want you to make love to me. And in my mind...
He's got the frog in the throat here. He's going to go make awful noises. There he is.
All right, I'm back. In my mind, I thought I was doing that. I thought I was bringing that. I thought I was adoring her. I thought I was pacing myself and tempering myself. And whatever it meant to her...
Do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you want me to tell you what she really, really meant? Okay. So I said this to a partner once too, and it really kind of flipped him out.
Really?
Because I said, I'm really looking forward to when we make love. Mm-hmm. And of course, he thought that's what we had been doing. And making love isn't just a euphemism for the sex.
Right.
It's actually a place where women feel something really poignant, where it's not just, oh, I'm feeling great, and you are worshiping me, you are loving, but it's actually where the woman feels like she and the man are in deep, emotional, vulnerable connection. And that's pretty rare. All right? That's probably what she meant.
Yeah.
And so, when I looked at my partner and said, I'm really looking forward to making love, and he's like, but I'm loving you every time, and he is. I mean, it's, he is bringing the love, touching me in love and all that. But I'm not getting the big emotional feeling where we're looking to each other's eyes and there isn't a whole lot of motion going on. There may not even be pleasure. It's not even really so much about the pleasure. It's about the exquisite emotional connection.
Yeah. What I realized, the vulnerability and giving myself to her.
Not doing so much.
Yeah. I mean, because our routine, as teenagers, our routine was she would take care of me so that I could in turn last longer when I got back up. Mm-hmm. And then while I was waiting for that, I was performing on her. And so it was, I guess, button pressing sex, as we talk about it. And realizing, knowing what I know now, the potency in the arousal and the connection of that, what I call first round. If you're holding that first ejaculation and striving to master it and stay in that pure essence of arousal and connect with each other in that, and then connect,
right. Well, the other thing
what
you're saying there is because once you had ejaculated that first time, you really weren't there anymore.
Energetically, even though I intellectually was there,
right? And
energetically, I was dissipated. Even though I was awake,
right.
I wasn't falling asleep. Right. I was performing wonderful things for her.
Yep.
I wasn't actually energetically
right.
present.
You weren't as keen, that keenness.
Okay, yeah.
And that's what I talk about, like when men, because, certainly I've been with men that are not, that are sophisticated lovers. They're not. So even if, after intercourse is over and they've ejaculated, if it's like, do you still want more, touch me more, be there, whatever, but they don't realize that's lost, what happened after that ejaculation. Right. So when in the workshop, I said that a lot of the time women feel exquisitely lonely after men ejaculate. And to watch the expression on the women's faces, because they would never have ever said that out loud.
Or maybe even known how to express it.
Right, or known what was going on.
Right.
Look at me just like, oh my God. So it's not just me. And the men are like curious, they're like their head kind of cocked to the side, kind of like, I don't understand. I'm there and I'm cuddling her and all this. And I said, if more people understood that energetics, that once a man ejaculated and he shut down and everything kind of, that women felt that disconnect immediately, even if they're being cuddled, even if all that's going on, and that so they might have the next day wake up with this little bit, because, you're going to sleep with that feeling a lot of the time.
Right.
Okay, so women are going to sleep with that kind of like, oh, they're longing for something that hasn't happened. They're thinking, oh, one more time, another time like that.
Right.
And they wake up the next day not feeling so connected and great. Yeah. And so snippy.
Yeah. And that's where guys wake up, like, oh, what's up with her?
Right, exactly. And, then she's got maybe the stress and the pressure of the day and whatever else. She's not feeling her relationship cup that being filled up like that. I've been using the whole cup thing, right? So there's filling your own cup up.
Right.
And so two people with two full cups come together with a relationship. They're adding to the relationship cup, which is one.
Divine alchemy.
Right. And if everybody's empty, it's not a good thing. So here's the deal. I do believe and, have asked thousands of people and have found this to be mostly true. This is not at all true. Nothing's always true across the board. Okay.
Right.
We are individual people. But for the most part, it is true that women do feel that disconnect, that energetic emotional disconnect. Here's another thing that happens that can lead to some dissatisfaction, and that is women tend to, so even if a woman, the man was a sophisticated lover and he made sure she had her orgasm before they had intercourse, but then her arousal built again, because generally if a woman has an orgasm, and especially if it's not, if that sexual tension release, clitoral orgasm can be kind of tough, because sometimes you don't want to be touched right after that.
Right.
But the arousal can still build again. And if a woman's in a high state of arousal, and she's gone there, and then she's like, oh my God, and he ejaculates, and she's left in that high state of arousal.
Oh, yeah.
Her body learns that it's pointless to get that excited.
Right. It hurts. It emotionally, physically, spiritually. It's a letdown.
Right.
Or not just a letdown. It's, it's getting you to a high place and then leaving you.
Right. And then the energetic disconnect. So even if he were to still touch her afterwards and do more stuff to her, and maybe she had an orgasm after, it's still that disconnect in that high space of arousal.
And that's that place of feeling obligated or rising to the challenge, where a guy feels at that moment we need to, both men and women, to hold that edge, to satisfy that edge. We have to rush, we have to pound, we have to do whatever we can to keep the energy going. And, that desperation, addiction almost, to maintaining it, when realizing if the arousal's been lost because the guy's ejaculated, pause. Be kind to your body, be kind to your heart, understand what's going on, and cultivate the connection.
Right.
Rather than the pressure of having to perform at that moment,
Well, this is where people would actually, if they were speaking to each other
about
it, that thing.
Sorry, I forgot that part.
It would be like amazing, because if a woman were able to say, if the man ejaculated and she was in that state of feeling, very disconnected and yet still sexually aroused, and that would be the time where she could say, I think I would like to be held and touched more, or hold me while I touch myself. Or she might say, I just need to hear a lot of affirmations of love, or because I'm feeling that funky space. Now, like, women don't want to feel that way. Here's the thing. We actually feel badly for feeling that way if we're conscious of it.
Right.
Because that's not how we want to feel about our partner. So now all of you out there that are maybe listening to this for the first time, because there's people that, we have people joining all the time.
I love that.
You guys are thinking, what in the hell are you guys talking about with ejaculation, right? So let us once again say that in Tantra or Eastern art forms, men learn to orgasm without ejaculation. And that, so we're not saying that, men, you're evil because you're ejaculating. I do not feel that way. I love men, and that is not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that because we don't understand the implications of our evolutionary design, because we're not just running around putting our seed all over the place anymore.
Right.
At least most people aren't.
Anymore.
That the most sophisticated form of lovemaking, or the most potent form of lovemaking for both energy and love and all of these other things, is to make love without an ejaculation, but having orgasm as the man instead. And this is really what women are craving and desiring, is a man who can run full high energy, be in that high state of pleasure while he's inside her, because we feel you energetically. We feel your passion and your arousal just the way we feel it when it goes away. So if a man is able to have ejaculation management, now that ejaculation management is just where you're holding off.
Using all kinds of strategies to last longer. That's not really doing it for us that much, because you're not going to last longer in a high state of arousal. We need you in a high state of arousal, running that 9-point whatever energy for a long time. Right.
And so the tantric sexual arts of ejaculation mastery is really what you want to be learning. And men need to, like I said, men have part of the information. They need to last longer. Well, you do need to last longer than 2 or 3 minutes, if you want to have a different experience in intercourse. However, lasting longer, managing your ejaculation by distraction and techniques that take you away from your feeling your pleasure.
That's wrong.
That's not doing it for us
wrong.
either. Right. So
the magic, for guys wanting to last longer, looking at why, because I feel great when I do, because she feels great when I do, because I feel like I'm the man, all these different reasons why we want to last longer, to be performing, to be number one. If we can last longer in the arousal state, if we can really understand and grasp the concept of that, the reality of sex, intimacy, connection, the way your lover will want you.
Yep.
Is so profoundly different.
Yes, we're talking night and day. We're talking about a way of being that unless you experience it, you just have no idea. But it's what women are longing for, men are trying to train for, but they don't know because they're only getting part of the idea. And here's the blow-away thing. So one of the men at my workshop raises his hand and he says, I've always made love where I've had countless orgasms. Through lovemaking, I can last as long as I want, have as many orgasms that I want, and ejaculate or not. I'm like, we're all looking at him like,
The
really.
master has just revealed himself.
He's 32 years old.
Right.
And I said to him, so you don't even know that that's not normal. And he goes, no, it's just the way it's always been. And I said, you spent a lot of time in your youth masturbating that way, didn't you? And he goes, yeah, masturbation was so great. The pleasure was so great. Why would you want it to be over? So he's been training himself since a young age to do this. So he doesn't even know any different.
Right.
He's always perplexed about, because he's never said anything to anybody either, that in his idea, premature would be not lasting as long as you wanted to.
Right, right. So he basically has mastered ejaculation.
He is an ejaculation master.
Wow.
Right? It's not in management at all.
Did he teach part of the class?
No, and his only thing was it was great. I said, well, this is great. This gives other men hope, and that I'm not just talking blah, blah, blah.
Right,
why is this woman talking about this?
Yeah, he just happened to learn a different side of it.
Right, and so his thing was, well, tell me why I should give up ejaculating. He said, because, I can do the orgasm, whatever, and he can actually ejaculate multiple times during lovemaking, too, and still stay there.
Right, and never lose the erection.
Right.
Wow.
All right, exactly.
Wow.
Everybody's like, wow. Look at him like, wow. And so what I explained to him was when you ejaculate, you lose life force energy. You actually are spilling your seed from your bank that you can't recover.
Right, right.
So at 32, if he can stop doing that and decide to consciously ejaculate however many times he does, think about where he'll be when he's 60.
Right.
I mean, we're talking amazing. And he is a very vital, a very driven, very high energy guy already.
And was his partner there? Was she like nodding her head like, yeah, this is fun, or what?
Well, she didn't really know a whole lot of different either because they were very young when they got together.
Okay.
And so for her, that's normal too. So she wouldn't even understand what most women.
So she's been having the gift of riding those orgasm trains.
Right.
And experiencing what it was like to be with him.
But she looks like a very, very happy woman, let me tell you.
Good. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They quite clearly, they adore each other. And yes, they're quite clearly very connected even after a long time of being together.
Yeah. So for the men who this is new to them or they've heard about it and they're like, how do I even begin to realize that the quality of experience, having control over our own bodies, not because we should be controlling to last longer, but to actually control our energy, to have choice.
Yeah.
And to be able to consciously create a potency of experience, of ecstasy, of lovemaking with a lover. Men like choice.
Well, the other thing is that I believe, and this will be a little woo-woo for a lot of people, I'm sure, but I am totally and completely convinced that if we were able to change this as a society about how lovemaking happened, how orgasm instead of ejaculation happened, we'd be starting a lot of world healing.
World healing?
Yeah. I believe that global change could happen like this. Is why I believe that Tantra is one of the ways to help global healing. Because we can start understanding each other and what we need better, not only ourselves, but our partners. And when we start doing that, when we have a safe place to be with another person,
right,
things are going to start changing.
Right.
But you know what? If we don't feel safety at home and we don't feel love and connection at home, we're certainly not going to feel very good about the world.
Right.
So
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
And, from my perspective, as far as the tantric practices and principles, for men to begin to understand their own energy, to begin to understand their own desires and drive, and to master it, to gain dominion over something that has driven us. I think that we can get out of the insanity that makes so many men do things that,
like Tiger Woods?
Hurtful. Yeah.
Like Tiger Woods?
Like Tiger Woods, not knowing how to manage his energy, not knowing how to take the intensity of his drive and do something better with it, make better decisions with it, not be controlled by his own desires. He's a strong man, but he's a weak man. He doesn't know how to wield the strength and power that he has in his desire.
You know what? 75% of men cheat on their marriages. But it's not about sex. It's not all about sex. It's mostly about how they feel about themselves.
Yeah.
So it's it's about not getting enough appreciation, or not being heard, or not being something.
Right.
And some self thing that's not filled up, and then looking for somebody else to fill that. And not addressing the relationships generally as they need to.
Yeah. So back to the being able to communicate, something that most of us don't know how to communicate.
It kind of comes back to, and it's not, and we talk about communication, it's not just talking to somebody.
Yeah.
It's actually talking in a way that they understand and hear you, because talking to men about sex is really difficult. Married men. Single men, easier. But because men are so afraid of finding out they're doing one more thing wrong, and in a sense we're telling you that, but we're not telling you you're doing anything wrong. What I'm saying is most of us are ignorant. And the whole reason people are listening to us and taking classes and doing my inner circle program is because they want to stop the ignorance. There's nobody out there really teaching people what they need to be successful in their relationships. Okay? They teach you sex ed, and they teach you that marriage lasts forever as long as you love each other. It's all bunk.
Right. You have to have tools and skills
relationship
to counteract
management.
our ignorance.
Right. And so please give your fellow man and woman a break today and some compassion, because we are all operating in this premise of ignorance, and it's time to change that.
Definitely.
And that's why we're here.
Definitely.
And we'll be back next week.
All right.
And it was great talking to you.
Great talking to you, too.
Keep writing us.
Have a great holiday for those of you who celebrate this
Merry
wonderful
Christmas.
holiday. Merry Christmas.
Happy Hanukkah.
We have Hanukkah. We have Kwanzaa. We have so many different traditions and this beautiful time of transition towards the darker days of the year. If you look at the cycles of many different cultures, we look that we're approaching the longest night and all that. So
it's groovy. It's wonderful. Talk to you soon. And we're out.
You have been listening to the Tantra Love, Sex, and Intimacy Show with your host, Tanya Diamond. Don't miss next week's show at Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Until then, visit our website at www.tanyadiamond.com. That's TANJA for more information on workshops and classes.